All right, guys, we got an article here from Michael Snyder, and it is called 9 Signs That Chess Pieces Are Being Moved into Place for a Major War in the Middle East. We've been talking a lot about this on our main channel, the Duran. We've done a lot of videos and a live show on the fact that the Biden White House, not Biden the president, but the White House that is full of neocon and neoliberal warmongers are ramping up the war machine, and they've got the Middle East in sight. They've also got Ukraine in sight. Which one they're going to start a conflict with first, I don't know. I think it's going to be Syria, but it may be Ukraine. Maybe it's both. Who knows? They're that crazy and they're that destructive, and they're full of these guys in the White House. The neocons, the neoliberals, the Newlands, the Kagans, the Susan Rices, all these people who are absolute warmongers. And they're also part of the military industrial complex. I mean, all these people were consultants and getting paid by the MIC as well. It's just a sewer, just a cesspool of warmongers. It's really bad. But this article, I'm going to read you this article, guys, actually pretty much in full, because Michael Snyder gives out the 9 reasons, the 9 things that point to a war in the Middle East coming sometime around the summertime. Maybe middle summer, maybe after summer. We'll see. Remember that a war is going to serve as a really good distraction from a very fading Joe Biden. A Joe Biden that can barely speak for more than 10 minutes now. And they have to cut off live video feeds of him. He can't take questions. He can't go out. He can't give a press conference. So, I mean, a war could serve as a very good distraction as well to hide Joe Biden, at least until the midterms. So here is the article from Michael Snyder. The American people are really going to regret putting the warmongers back in control. Joe Biden has been in the White House for less than 2 months, and the warmongers that Biden has surrounded himself with have been feverishly setting the stage for the next war in the Middle East. I do not believe that it will start within the next week, but I do believe that it is inevitable. While President Trump was in the White House for 4 years, the U.S. didn't start any new conflicts. But now that the Biden administration is quite determined to start projecting American influence all over the globe once again, most Americans don't understand the bigger picture. But the truth is that this is going to have very serious implications over the next few years. In this article, I would like to examine some of the chess moves that have been made since Joe Biden entered the White House. As you will see, a very troubling picture emerges once you start putting all the pieces together. I completely agree with that. Let's look into the moves that the Biden White House is putting into place, which definitely point to a war coming in the near future. Point number 1, literally one day after Biden was inaugurated, a massive U.S. military convoy rolled into Syria. A large U.S. military convoy entered northeastern Syria on Thursday, Syrian state news agency SANA reports, citing sources on the ground. According to the report, the convoy included some 40 trucks and armored vehicles and was backed from the air by helicopters. That was the tweet when the convoy was deployed. President Trump had tried very hard to disengage from the war in Syria, but Biden has made it crystal clear that the U.S. will be heavily involved in that conflict moving forward. Yes, Trump actually ordered for troops to be removed from Syria. And what did the deep state do? They ignored that order, and they kept the troops in. They told Trump that they were moving troops out, but they kept the troops there, and they bragged about it afterwards. We've done videos on this. There's stories on this. It is a terrible, terrible development. That was a terrible development, and it just shows that the deep state, it's its own government. That's it. It's completely their own thing. Nothing is going to stop them from war. They didn't even listen to the president of the United States. When the president, who is their direct superior, he's the commander-in-chief, ordered for troops to leave, the deep state said, yes, Mr. Trump President Trump will move those troops. And then they ignored him, and they kept those troops there. Point number 2, just a few weeks later, Joe Biden conducted his first airstrike against Iranian-backed forces inside Syria. That's point number 2. Point number 3, of course it was inevitable that Iranian-backed forces would respond, and they retaliated by launching rockets at a military base in Iraq, where U.S. forces are stationed. Just a couple of days ago, new Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that there will be a U.S. military response at a time and a place of our own choosing. Yeah, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin tells Martha Raddatz the U.S. is still assessing who carried out recent rocket attack on base in Iraq. housing U.S. troops, and that if the U.S. decides to respond, it will be at a time and place of our choosing. That's Lloyd Austin, who was on the board of Lockheed Martin, I believe. I believe it was Lockheed Martin, and when he was appointed defense secretary, he got paid like a $3 million bonus. More U.S. airstrikes may come sooner rather than later. In fact, it is being reported that the U.S. has just sent 6 B-52 bombers to Diego Garcia. 6 B-52 bombers. Citing a U.S. official, CNN on Monday reported that the Cold War-era bomber will be available for operations against Iran if ordered. So we've had a Syria troop ramp up, and we have a lot of focus on Iran so far. A lot of focus on Iran. The Biden administration is also sending approximately 10,000 more U.S. troops to the Middle East. Once the amphibious assault ship Batan, which is moving toward the Middle East, arrives, the U.S. will have added roughly 10,000 personnel to the area within the last week, according to the Wall Street Journal. Point number 6, Russia has been busy making moves in the region as well. On Friday, Russia conducted an airstrike on an oil loading facility in Syria that is used by opposition forces that are backed by Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and the Biden administration. So Russia knows what's coming, and they're preparing. Russia really needs to clean out the last remaining remnants of the Obama, Erdogan, Saudi, Israel, IS enclaves in the north of Syria. They need to clear them out, absolutely, because the Biden White House is coming. Meanwhile, Israel continues to hit strategically important targets inside Syria on a regular basis. The following comes from a news report that was published in late February. This is point number 7. Syrian air defenses were activated in the capital Damascus and its southern suburbs Sunday night to repel an Israeli missile attack, state media reported. There was no word on casualties. State TV quoted an unnamed military official as saying that most of the Israeli missiles were shot down before reaching their targets near Damascus. Point number 8, Israel is particularly interested in keeping Iran from developing nuclear weapons. In an interview with Fox News, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz stated that Israel is ready to attack Iran without any U.S. help. If the world, here's a quote from Gantz, if the world stops them before, it's very much good. But if not, we must stand independently and we must defend ourselves by ourselves, Gantz said in a first sit-down interview with an American outlet. So we did a video on this on the Duran where we talk about how Kamala Harris, not Biden, Kamala Harris is speaking with Netanyahu, and Netanyahu relayed the same message to Kamala Harris, which was basically figure out what you're going to do with Iran, or else we're going to attack. Something along those lines. I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, but that was pretty much the message. And Kamala Harris, Biden, who is in charge of it? Who's running it? Who is Netanyahu ultimately dealing with? Who is Iran ultimately dealing with? Who is Russia ultimately dealing with in the United States? Who is it? Who's running the show? No one knows. During the phone call last Thursday between Kamala Harris and Benjamin Netanyahu, point number 9, the Israeli prime minister made it exceedingly clear that his nation is ready to do whatever it takes to prevent the Iranians from developing their own nukes. The prime minister said we would continue to strengthen our intelligence and security cooperation, and said during their conversation that as prime minister of Israel, he is totally committed to preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons that are meant for our destruction. So all the signals are there. Something is happening in the Middle East. We have a video coming out of the Duran where we show that something is happening in Ukraine as well. Guys, no one is running the U.S. There is not a leader in the White House. At this moment in time, there is not a leader in the White House to put the brakes on things. There's not someone in the White House that understands that Israel, Iran, Syria, the Middle East, all of these countries getting engulfed in some sort of conflict would just mean absolute disaster. It would just spell disaster for the region, for the world. You have no one to put it in reverse gear. No one. Not even an Obama. Not even an Obama is in place to put the brakes on this time around. For all the wars and all the horror and destruction and death that Obama inflicted on the region and on the world, at least when things were getting to the point of absolute crazy, like the U.S. engaging with Russia in Syria, Obama put on the brakes. He put on the brakes right before the U.S. was going to jump over the cliff. Now, I mean, this is, oh boy, this is bad. Of course, the Iranians have no plans to back down, and that makes a military conflict between Israel and Iran inevitable. There will be war in the Middle East, and the horror of that conflict will shock the entire planet. And once that war begins, it will greatly accelerate our economic problems and the ongoing political turmoil in this country. So enjoy this brief period of relative stability while you can, because our world is about to start changing in dramatic ways. Michael Snyder's book, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America. Here's about the author, Michael Snyder. I'll put a link down below. Guys, good article, good read. Yeah, Middle East or Ukraine or both. Something is happening, and a war is going to serve multiple purposes. It's going to serve the interests of the military-industrial complex. It'll serve the interest of the neocons, of the neoliberals, of the deep state, of the Democrats, and it's also going to buy Joe Biden some more time. It'll distract away from Joe Biden, from a diminishing Joe Biden. It's all pointing to some sort of conflict in the Middle East and or Ukraine. All right, guys, that's the video. Subscribe to this channel. Check out Alexander's channel as well. The link's down below. Look at the Duran's channel. The link's down below. Go to Duran shop. Pick up some merch. Maybe a hoodie. Maybe a t-shirt. Maybe a magic mug. I've got all kinds of Duran gear today. Take care.